Oh, the virus outside is frightful, and the wine is so delightful. We got every kind, you know. Let it flow, let it flow, let it flow. Coffee, too. Good morning, Glue Troopers. I know you'd all rather see our resident movie star than me, so she's sitting here purring like a 57 Chevy. And speaking of 57 Chevys, I was curious. I'm going to kick off the question of the day, especially for you car guys. You know, they have what they call, was it the Tri-Chevy, you know, the ultimate classics, the 55, the 56, and 57. And I've built a model of a 57 Chevy. Although if I was going to own one just for purely aesthetics, the 55 was my favorite. And I was wondering how many of you guys have built, you know, like the 55 to 57 Chevys, either street cars or rods or whatever. And who makes your favorite one? You know, AMT, Revell, and, oh, she's just purring away. And I was just curious what your favorite, well, I was thinking about the Tri-Chevys, you know, but really classic car in general. And I know some folks like are real hardcore 50s fans, some for the 60s stylings. And I prefer the 50 and 60 stylings to pretty much anything. I think it was 69 that the new rules came into effect and they had to start putting the bigger bumpers on them, which changed, really, to me, the cars that really changed the look were like the GTOs, because you guys probably know I love GTOs and Impalas. Of course, it's more an aesthetic thing, but I think like the, you know, the 65, 66, 67 GTOs are just, I don't know if I've seen a prettier car. You know, I love the Supernatural car, the 67 Impala, especially the four-door hardtop, which, thanks to the show, even though it just ended its 15-season run, those things are still expensive. And and now that the show's off the air, they finally actually made a kit of one. I'm still waiting for a kit of the Razor Quest from The Mandalorian to come out. I think someone's doing one in resin, but and my wife pointed out that if you look at it from the right angle, the Razor Crest looks a lot like the ship from Firefly and Serenity. And, you know, they both had the engines hanging out on pylons with the underslung main area. Oh, yeah. But, well, anyway, back to the cars. Probably told you guys a while back, a neighbor had a mostly restored 67 Impala. Actually, the exterior and the engine mechanically was all restored. The interior might have been original. It was in good shape, but it was missing an armrest, and one of the windows I think didn't crank down, and a few other little things. Nothing, you know, nothing super mechanical. I wouldn't call it a restoration, more just repairs. But he couldn't find a buyer for it, and he wanted 14 grand, which is about right, and had a 396 with an Edelbrock carburetor. And at one point he was so desperate he dropped to 11,000. The wife was like, "Yeah, if you need it, you can get it." And I went and test drove it, and I had forgotten. You know, we've gotten so used to modern cars, all those classic cars looks cool. You forget how they drive, and they whoa, and you know, you kind of herd them down the street. You never take your hand off the wheel. And you also forget they're not as comfortable as modern cars. You sit on that bench seat and everything, and try to slide it, and you realize that the steering wheel doesn't adjust. You're like, oh, you know. All of a sudden you're like, okay, maybe this isn't, you know. And some things make better memories than the actual reality of the situation. Anyway, oh yeah. So the other thing is my brother was driving past a VFW post, and they had a missile out front, and he couldn't figure out what that missile was, and I started digging around. I couldn't figure out what it was. And first I thought it was maybe an Athena, but no, the booster was too big. And it only had two fins, which should have been a tip, but I thought, well, maybe a couple of fins were knocked off, but we never did find what it was because I kept looking at missiles and stuff. But what it was the booster section for the old SM-64 Navajo. And I was like, oh, of course, that's why the two fins stick down. And of course, I'm kind of kicking myself. The one time somebody asked me to research a missile, I couldn't figure out what it was. Well, it was admittedly just a booster stage, but still. But that got me looking at we're doing that, looking at all the missiles of the 50s and 60s and 70s. And you're just gobsmacked by how many different launch vehicles and missile systems and boosters and rockets we made. I mean, there's hundreds of them. And that's not even counting the Terra cruisers or cruise missiles like the Snark, the Matador, and the Mace. And I know that they've made like the missile farms you could buy that had all the different rocketry missiles in them, and that's not everything. But you realize if you're a missile guy and a rocket guy, if you wanted to make, I mean, they don't make kits of every single missile and rocket ever made, but if you, with a scratch building or whatever, if you wanted to have a collection, you would have of everything, you'd have hundreds of them. And I know a lot of them are switching around. They'll use this missile booster for several different rockets. Still, the combinations, just and you may realize how much garbage we put up in space. People litter everywhere they go. And and that's not even getting into concept vehicles that were never made or the science fiction stuff. That's strictly things that actually were bolted together and flown. And you'll never run out of subjects to model in a human lifetime. There are so many cars and planes, so much equipment, so many tanks, missiles, rockets. I think that's one of the things that we all really enjoy about the hobby is that it'll stay fresh. Some of us like to make the same thing over and over occasionally, but generally speaking, we all like to do something different, and it'll always stay fresh because there's just so much stuff out there to model. And like Nick Argento said, how many more, P-51s and Spitfires can the market bear? But like, if you're a model, if you want to go into the business of making models or 3D printing them or whatever, or vac forming them, and you wanted to make something that had never been made, you wouldn't have trouble finding things that haven't been made, because there's more that hasn't been made than has been made. Let me put it like that. And which is why kit bashing is also so popular for some people. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Kit bashing. Yes. And somebody's loving life. So anyway, that's about all there is for that. Oh, yes, minor announcement. I got my training date for my operating experience. So the 3rd of next month, I have some dental work coming up. So in a few days, probably after the end of the month, there won't be any content for a couple of days because I got to get my teethus worked on, and I got to get go and do that OE training. So they can release me into the wild, release the hounds. Once I get that done, I'll be fully SORN certified, activated, and they can let slip the dogs of airline flight. Cry havoc. I think you say cry havoc. It's cry havoc and let slip the dog. Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. I think that's how that line goes from, I believe it's Shakespeare.
Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war.
And, well, anyway, we've managed to go from model rockets to Shakespeare. Just never know what direction this channel is going to go. Yes. Well, guys, that's about all I have for this morning. You take care and model on.